Well, let me be clear. I did not overcome any terrible health problem. I did not start a nonprofit. I'm not saving the world at all. I'm terribly, terribly ordinary. But I have a curse word in my title, and I have pictures. So we should have fun. Let me tell you a little bit about, give you a little bit of background about my family. So I'm the youngest of, oh, see, I told you. Don't tell the boss. I'm the youngest of 7 kids from the fabulous 70s, very similar to the Brady Bunch, except more children. My parents have lived with my husband and I for 15 years. We've been married for 25, so 15 of our 25 years. So he has immediately opened the gates of heaven for himself, and he can do no wrong on this earth for the rest of his life. Good deal. I have a really bad habit of taking in stray animals, particularly dogs, and one elusive cat who does not like to be filmed. I have 4 fabulous, crazy, wild, fun children, and I have 100 crazy and wild, fun people who work for me in advertising, and this is kind of what a day looks like. I didn't need to get many volunteers for that. They were all signing up for that. They were actually fighting for the bucket. So every Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on how much I have my act together, I send out the family text, where everybody has to go to the 15 places, and there's only 3 drivers, but we have a nanny, and it always changes, and Bernadette needs to go to UO because she's got lacrosse, but then she's got to take her brother to debate, and then we got to pick up Tim at St. Mark's because he has to go over to Ursuline because he's in the play, but then he has to get back to water polo because then my brother has to pick up his other brother, and then they got to drive back to lacrosse because Bernadette has the car. And then it all changes in about 2 hours because somebody forgot their swimsuit or somebody got a concussion. But I will say it's highly entertaining, and if you want to be added to the family text, I would be happy to get your cell phone because it brings great joy into most people's lives when I read it to them. So everybody asks me, every day of my life, I don't think it's happened, and since the last 20 years, I get this question every single day. How do you do it? How do you do it? And I usually come up with something ridiculously, grossly trite, like, one day at a time. Not well at all. But the truth is, I don't think about it. This is my reality. It's my happy place. I mean, I have an amazing job. I love my job. I love my company. I have the most incredible husband on the planet, and if anyone has met him, they will vouch for me that he really truly is the one and only. I'll make sure he hears that. I have 4 absolutely fantastic kids, and I have 2 parents that are elderly but relatively healthy that live with me. I consider myself ridiculously lucky. But there's a totally different way of looking at that. You can look at it and say, it's ridiculous. It's stupid. It's exhausting. I fail at least one thing at any given time in my life on a daily basis. My life is not filled with sturdy bridges. My life is a rope bridge, and I fall down all the time. This is the one thing that women are really great at, is striving for perfection. Why do we do that to ourselves? I mean, weren't we taught when we were this little that there is no such thing as perfection? But we strive for it, and we strive for it. And then what's our strongest Achilles heel? Striving, everyone together, striving for perfection. And it's so ridiculous of what we do to ourselves and how we beat ourselves up. I was recently in New York and at an awards ceremony for women in marketing and advertising, and just an incredible group of women and really influential and doing amazing things. And I was walking up on stage, and there was another woman walking up behind me. And she was about 30 years old, and she was on her 2nd startup. And she leans up to me and she says, these women around here, they're badasses. I don't belong here. And I turned around and looked at her, I said, you're 30 years old and you're on your 2nd startup. You are a badass. And then I walked off the stage, and there was another young woman, and she's lamenting her weight. And she says, this is my 2nd baby. The baby's 2 years old, and I cannot lose this weight, and I'm just exhausted, and I'm just a hot mess. And I said, look around the room, take a look around the room, and we can take a look around this room. And look at all the incredible women. And I'm talking incredible. These women are winning awards. They're doing amazing things in the workplace, in the social space, in communities. And I said, and I guarantee you, every single one of them looked in the mirror today and said, I am such a hot mess. And you know what? We are. We are a hot mess because, you know, the board meeting is going to trump the baseball game sometimes. And the debate tournament is going to force you to cancel a client meeting. It just happens. It's just reality. Why do we strive so hard for this perfect balance? It's not real. Life is not balanced. It's ebb and flow. And why don't we just get in the groove and enjoy the ride? It's really amazing to me how hard we are on ourselves. And it's by the definitions we create. We create, and society creates, these ideas of what is important to our children. We feel like huge failures because we miss the sports awards ceremony, or we miss the field trip, or we miss moms and muffins. And whoever came up with moms and muffins needs to be arrested. I mean, seriously, what evil person did that? Just another thing I'm going to miss. If you find her, let me know. And dads with donuts, too. That's another one. Totally wrong. But those are things that we define ourselves and the society defines. Is that what our kids remember? Do our kids really are concerned about the fact that mom missed one of my plays one night? And I thought about my own kids, and my kids love telling stories, and they're great storytellers, and they love to listen to stories. And I have this journal I keep at my bedside. I've had since they were babies. And I wrote down every funny thing they ever said when they were babies and toddlers, and today they're teenagers, and they're still saying really, really funny things. And they love when I read from that book. And so we're constantly talking about childhood stories. And one night, it was probably about 2 years ago, we were sitting on the bottom bunk of my son's bed, all 4 kids piled on, and I was sitting on the end of the bed and we're telling stories. And Pete was 14 at the time, and he told me a story that I'd never heard. And I need to preface this story because there's a prop involved. You might see this noisy thing that everybody in the back is like, why is she wearing that bracelet right by the mic? It's driving me crazy. Well, this is a very important piece of jewelry for me. This never goes off my wrist. It's very noisy, it's very obnoxious. People call it my dog tags. It has 4 medals on it, and they're saint medals, and they're all my children. So wherever I go, my children are with me, and it's very, very sentimental to me. My husband is wonderful with jewelry. He's very generous, but nothing can trump this bracelet. So he's telling me the story, and he says, I remember when I was in kindergarten, and I was in Mrs. McCarty's class, and they used to have special readers. Don't you hate that? Special readers at 10 a.m.? Like, who can make that? Special readers. And he says, and I knew you could never do it because you're either working or traveling. And one day, Mrs. McCarty said, oh, we have a very, very special surprise today. We have a very, very special reader, and we can't wait for you to see who the special reader is. And he's curious, and he says, and then I hear this. And he says, and I closed my eyes, and I clenched my eyes shut, and I squeezed them. I said, it's got to be Tyler's mom. She has a bracelet. There's no way it can be mom, but I secretly prayed, and I secretly prayed it was you. And I opened my eyes, and there you were. And I thought, how did he remember that? He was 5 years old. Of course, I cried like a baby. I'm trying to keep it together up here. But then I thought, wow, I had forgotten that all those years ago, I was in Los Angeles on a business trip, and I was there for several days, and my morning meeting was canceled. And I was just aching for my kids. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get on the red eye. I'm going to change my flight. I called his teacher. I said, I'm going straight from the airport to reading time. Just go with me. I'm going to text when you get there, and we're going to have to play with the timing. She said, absolutely. So I did that. I did it for me. That wasn't a planned, scripted moment out of a play and a sports banquet. That was just something I needed. I needed to be with him, and I needed to be with my kids. And it, frankly, kind of selfish because I was just missing him. And that was his treasured moment that he remembered. And it made me think, what do you remember about childhood? What are your best memories? I'll tell you a couple of mine. My mom was pretty strict. She had 7 kids. She had to run a tight. You saw the Brady Bunch. It was pretty, she had 7 kids in 8.5 years, by the way. She makes me look very inefficient. So she was in the kitchen, and she's kind of singing a goofy song. And she's kind of goofing around, which is not like my mom. And all of us are standing around, and one by one of us starts to sing with Mom. And then another one piles in. And before you know it, all 7 of us are singing, and we're dancing, and we're roaring, laughing. And it made my heart swell. And I just thought, this is so awesome. I don't remember if she went to my play. I don't remember a field trip. I remember my mom being goofy in the kitchen when she never did. I remember doing the dishes with one of my brothers. And we had to go, there were 7 of us, so we got teams. You know, we could all break up in camps. So it was our dish duty. And by the way, I highly recommend having a lot of kids because they do the dishes when they get older. So, little tip my mother taught me. So my brother and I are in the kitchen, and we're fighting over who's going to wash and who's going to dry because, frankly, neither of us want to do either. So we decided to dump all kinds of soap into the sink and start a huge bubble fight and made a huge mess over the kitchen. And my mother comes storming into the kitchen, and I'm thinking, we're dead. We are dead. Storms in the kitchen, sees this huge mess, just starts down to laugh, and then she scoops up 2 big things of bubbles and throws it right in our face. And I thought, that's awesome. That's a moment that I will never, ever forget. And that's an unscripted moment. That's an unplanned moment. And those are the moments that build that crazy, beautiful, messy rope bridge that we walk every day in life. So don't worry about those planned moments. Don't worry about moms and muffins, or the field trip that you miss, or the teacher's meeting that you're 3 hours late for. Just cherish the moments, because at the end of the day, that's all that anyone remembers.